We never know how to start these. It's Lori Anderson, Ashland Kelso, your mortgages and mimosas ladies, and
although today we're having beer.
Yeah. But it's we've been so proud of ourselves. We've been, 2025 is going to be a tough market.
It is.
And I did see a graph the other day, and maybe if we can find that graph, we can put it out. But it took 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and it took 25. And it took home sales, closed loans, and 25 as of year to date. It's the lowest out of all that. So everybody's talking about how this market's been, kind of tough. And we all thought, you coming off of COVID and, this will be a tough market for us in this industry. It might be, a year or two. And here we are 2 or 3 years later trying to correct kind of what COVID did. And so we have a tale of two markets.
Yeah. So to your point, we were a huge, very big seller's market in 2021 to probably about, early 2022. And what that means when we say seller's market is it's just that. Sellers barely had to even put their house on the market, and they were going like that because interest rates were so low.
Multiple offers.
Yes, people could afford to buy more when rates are lower. So everybody was buying, because who doesn't want a 2 or 3% rate? So you went from having that strong seller's market to almost what feels like sometimes overnight, just like going to COVID. It went from a strong seller's market to slowly, and I don't want to say buyer's market. I just think it more, we talked about like more neutralizing. So, and location's always a big thing in that too. So I don't want to say like this chart, like what we're talking about is like the say all be all, but there are houses that still go quickly just because of location, maybe a neighborhood or an area, but,
we're going to put a chart up here, and it's the housing market. And when you look at it, the orange is those cap years when it was a seller's market and you were getting multiple offers and getting over ask and all of that. And then it's going to have, I think, yellow as more of a seller's market, and then gray is more neutral.
And we're now more in the neutral. And what that means too for buyers out there, it's kind of a shift of going, you still, sellers, it's still a good time to sell. Buyers, it's still a good time to buy. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about neutral. And, we were talking about how it's so great working with, great real estate agents that know the market, because if you don't understand the market and you don't know, you may be going and submitting an offer for a buyer and not asking for any seller concessions, not knowing that that's happening, that's normal. And so working with an agent that just doesn't know, doesn't just know the area, but knows about the market, knows what's going on, knows what's, normal. Because we're seeing a lot of seller concessions. We've talked about temporary buy downs, a 3-2-1 buy down, which have to be paid for by the seller in order to do those, which we didn't see those in a seller's market. And now we're seeing them more times than not, which is great because those can be starting in the 3s.
Yep. And Ashland and I are not, we are not real estate agents. We work with some really good, strong real estate agents. And I'm going to say the top 2 things that I think make a good real estate agent is not somebody that's like good on social media or whatever. It's negotiation skills and knowing the market and how to price it out, because 100%. This is the hugest asset you're ever going to own. And when you shop for that real estate agent, you need to know negotiation skills and do they know the market and know how to get you through that. And it's not just the part-timers, the ones, and I'm not trying to say anything against anybody that does this, but you need to have somebody that's strong, that knows that market, that knows where you need to be priced and knows how to negotiate you through that.
That are educating themselves. You mentioned part-time. It's not the part-timers, it's the cliche of the part-timers. But you can still be a part-time agent
and be strong
be strong because you are keeping up with the market. It's kind of like for us, it's like if I'm not in this every day, if we're not doing classes every day, we're constantly signing up for things that are educating us on what's going on, what are rates going to do. It's why I called a client today and said, I think we need to lock now because things have calmed down a little bit and we don't know what's going to happen. And so you want, just like you do with, with us as a lender going, who's watching out for me. It's the same thing when you're choosing a real estate agent, is they are going to know what's happening, not just in that, when we say market, it's like in that neighborhood that you're looking at, whether you're selling in that neighborhood or you're wanting to buy in that neighborhood. They, even going back to, I could go on and on about off-market stuff. I talked with an agent that knows, she's like, I'm the go-to for this neighborhood because I live here and I know when things are about to pop up. And so, whenever I have a buyer looking in that area, I'm like, that's who I call. So it's not always a one size fits all. Like, it's very important who you choose.
And the market, again, is not a one size fits all. It is a tale of two markets, and timing and what you do, your real estate agent will be the expert on that. But we did want to share and do a quick video on this and share what information we're seeing on the type of markets and what we're seeing out there. So please give us a call if there's something that we can do, and if you need a referral.
I was going to say, recommendation. I mean, that's big. Just like, we have real estate agents recommend us for certain things because it's, we don't just do certain areas. We're licensed by state, and I'll have people go and work with a lender that's licensed, they're licensed in Texas, but they live somewhere else. So they don't know a lot about our crazy Texas Constitution, some of those laws. So it's same with the real estate piece too. It's, just because somebody lives in Austin may not mean that they know the Liberty Hill market.
Right.
Just because somebody lives in Dallas doesn't mean that they know the Fort Worth market. Like, and even when you talk about these bigger cities, there's also a clear divide amongst just in that city. So, all right. I think we covered what we wanted to cover.
Hope we help.
All right. Bye.
Bye.